Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Hornbill TV's first episode of The Big Word with Ngullie. I'm Ngullie, your host. Public voices demanding accountability and justice administration in Nagaland have not been heard this loud since the Naga Mothers Association's Shed No Blood movement during the 80s and the 90s. It hasn't been heard this loud since the Naga Students Federation's fight against illegal appointments in the government in early 2000s. A similar voice hasn't been heard this loud since the Forum for Naga Reconciliations movement to reconcile the Naga political groups during the millennium's first decade. That law was broken by an organization called the Against Corruption and Unabated Taxation. The ACAUT's public actions against extortion and unlawful taxation can still be felt today. Today we have on our show Joel Naga, the ACAUT's former convener and currently the president of the Rising People's Party, to retrospect the ACAUT's journey and to narrate to us some stories we will never ever read in the newspapers. Welcome, Joe. Welcome to our show. And we're so glad that you're here because I think your presence here will give us some kind of a clarity in regard to what's happening with ACAUT now. We don't hear of ACAUT that much. So starting off with a question, Joe. Is the ACAUT dead?
First of all, Al, thank you so much for inviting me to your show. It's an honor and a privilege. In response to your question, let me first clarify that I'm no longer the chairman of ACAUT. In fact, I left the movement in the year 2018 itself.
Yeah, I think it was about 3 years. 3 years?
4 years back.
4 years.
4 years back. So the ACAUT has a new set of leadership. So in hindsight, I felt that I shouldn't be answering to this question. But nevertheless, ACAUT is not dead. It is alive and kicking. And as I've put it, the movement has a new set of leadership, and they're still relevant, and it's still relevant to Naga society.
You have been the face of the movement for a long time, and I think you can give us some clarity about how it first started, because when we talk of ACAUT, we suddenly think of, undergrounds, government, But we also want to know the principal reasons, how and when it started, the principal reasons you had to do this.
It started off all of a sudden. Okay. It started in the year 2013. In fact, the business community came to Naga Council Dimapur, and they stated that the business community is in ICU because of illegal taxation and illegal collections. And that's how the movement started. Initially, it wasn't a movement as such.
Okay.
When we started off, a few civil society organizations and student bodies came together under the leadership of NCD, and that's how it took off. So, in a sense, it was...
Wait, let me interrupt you there. Sorry,
Sure.
Joe.
Yeah.
Did you say the Naga Council of Dimapur? They were the ones
Exactly.
who took the initiative?
Exactly.
Oh, so it was not you, but they were the ones who took?
No, it wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
No. It was the Naga Council Dimapur.
I see.
Which took the initiative, and during the time, the president was Mr. Bangarloba Longkumar. So he was the president during that time, and as I stated, the business committee stated that we are in the ICU, and so that's how it took off. So initially, the ACAUT was against illegal taxations, and later on, it morphed into, against corruption and against unabated taxation. So we had to fight against corruption as well as we had to tackle the issue of illegal collections and taxations.
Okay. Yeah, so when you're talking about illegal taxation, let me be very blunt here, you're talking about the Naga political groups?
Exactly.
So within this aspect of Naga political groups, and I'm not saying they're the only ones who have been responsible. I think even community organization, tribal groups, student organizations, they have been engaged in this.
Yeah, even government agencies, if we talk about illegal taxation or illegal collections, even the government agencies are engaged in such activities.
Okay, so
Yeah.
okay, so your fight was, I think most of the time, especially people, when you ask them what the work of the ACAUT is, they mostly point their fingers towards the involvement of the Naga underground groups here. And I think most of the time, but I think we also forget that it's actually the community organizations, they also, secretively of course, they also engage in all this. So have you ever thought about how the sample of accountability that the ACAUT represented could have been represented in the government as well? Like, have you ever thought that you could go beyond the whole underground narrative here?
And that's what exactly happened. Because when we took up the issue of taxation and illegal collections by the undergrounds.
And syndicates?
That was in, sorry?
Syndicates.
Yeah, and syndicates.
Yeah.
That was in 2013 itself. We met one of the organizations, the underground organizations.
Okay.
And obviously, of course, it's not politically correct to say undergrounds. We say Naga political groups.
Yeah, I think that's what we do.
So when we met one of the organizations, they told us very bluntly, see, what we are doing is we are collecting tax, which is due to us, because we are a revolutionary government. But what you don't understand is that the Nagaland government is looting the Naga people. And that's how the nomenclature changed from Action Committee against unabated taxation to against corruption and unabated taxation.
Okay, so you're bringing the whole society that's responsible for all this into the ambit of your action, right?
Yes, something like that, yeah.
Okay, so which means you are no longer against the Naga political groups who have been engaged in all this. So you expanded your scope, and remember we were just mentioning syndicates.
Yes, syndicates.
So I think that was your biggest fight, right? I think that formed a major part of your fight, Joe.
Exactly, because during that time, what we learned was, in the early 2000s, there were at least more than 100 poultry farmers in Nagaland.
Okay.
So 10 years down the line, because of the syndicate system, the Naga poultry farmers, they could not sell the products in the market because of the syndicate system, and these syndicates were bringing their birds from outside Nagaland.
I see.
So in the process, the Naga farmers, they underwent losses.
Okay.
So what we did at that point of time was we had to ban the import of poultry into Dimapur, so as to give a chance to Naga poultry farmers.
I see. Okay. Just there before we go further into that topic, you are the syndicate. Okay, let's say you are the syndicate. I'm a chicken seller. Okay. So how do you affect me? What is my problem?
It's very simple.
What is my problem?
The problem with poultry or the bird is we have to feed them. Okay. We have to feed the birds. Okay. And feeding the birds is expensive. So what happens is there's a certain period, say 45 days. Okay. If you feed the birds within above 45 days, you go into losses. Okay. So you have to sell the bird within 30 days or 45 days, whatever. Okay. So what happens is, when the Naga farmer goes to the market, obviously he is not the, he's not going to sit in the market and sell the poultry. Okay. He has to sell it to wholesaler. Okay. The wholesaler knows that. Okay. And the wholesaler knows that if he can just extend the buying period beyond 45 days, then that farmer will definitely reduce the price of his chicken and sell it at a throwaway price. Okay. So if a kilo of chicken costs 150 rupees, at that time it was around 100 or 90, something like that. Okay. So he can buy it at 50 rupees. So the farmer is at loss.
So you're making profit out of it. That is obvious. Yeah. Okay. So was this whole syndication system just confined only to livestock farmers or just agricultural produce farmers? What about the business community contractors, for example?
Contractors, I wouldn't put it that way, but transporters.
Transporters. Yes. Okay.
A few days back we had a strike by the transporters community. Yes. So transportation is, one big syndicate, and in fact everything is, depends upon transporters. Price rise, low prices, everything depends upon transporters. So like Transportation is one area where syndicate system is prevalent, and cement, cement, or you name it, vegetables, perishable goods, you name it.
So it's practically like something like the mafia.
Exactly.
Do we use that word?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to use that word?
You're allowed, but I don't think I'm allowed.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting because I remember way back, I think it was 2017, my editor then, the award-winning journalist Banu Haralo, called me to the site, and we were about to leave for home, and she said, that was the first time she was joining us at Eastern Mirror, and she said, Al, we keep hearing about this ACAUT, and we keep hearing about this vegetable mafia and the syndicates. Who are the syndicates? You know, and I told her, I don't know. Maybe we should do an investigative story on this. So I think the public generally, they are so used to the idea, the word of syndicates, that they don't personify it as politicians or people or community leaders or even citizens. So I'm going to ask you this, Joe. Who are the syndicates? Where do they come from? What do they eat? What do they look like? Who are the syndicates?
The syndicates are residents of Nagaland, number one. Number two, as you know, the market is being controlled not by Nagas, but by illegal immigrants as well as Indian citizens who have come here as a guest.
I see.
Number two. Number three, who has given them protection. And why is the syndicate functioning in this manner? It's because of the fact that they have the big guns bagging them up, and sorry to say, our Naga brothers in the Naga political groups, these people and the business committee which control the market, they're together and they are functioning, or they're allowing the syndicate to happen.
So practically trying to get a wind out of your statement, you mean that all of us are actually responsible for all this?
All of us are responsible in the sense, yes, we Nagas are responsible.
Yeah, so I think it's been about 7 years now since ACAUT and everything that happened. We haven't heard much from them anymore. I mean, like, it's been some time. I haven't heard from them for some time. So I was just thinking whether you guys are, and somebody told me, I think we had this discussion earlier, so they're trying to disband or break up something, and elections are coming.
I haven't heard of that. But I don't think the ACAUT will disband because, as I stated earlier, ACAUT is still relevant, and it's important that they do the job. And see, when we started ACAUT movement, and as I've put it earlier, we were against corruption as such. So when a neutral body like the ACAUT rises up or speaks against corruption, it has more depth. But as a political party, if we speak against corruption, people will say, oh, this is the job of a political party to accuse. Yeah,
I think they do. I do think. But where does the RPP come in here? Because like you said, the job of a political party is to accuse. And I think that takes a lot out of your efforts to actually fight for accountability in the name of the public when you start a political organization. Where does RPP come in?
See, personally for me, I'll just put it very straight. See, since 2010, or since the day I was involved in civil society organizations or and ACAUT in the later part, I've always been vocal about many things. But I've understood that from outside a system, even if you keep on shouting, it may not bring the desired change. Yes, certain changes may be and can be brought about, but the drastic change which we all envision cannot happen. So this is the reason why the political party was formed, and as a political party we have to be responsible. So that is necessary. We have to be responsible, and we are not yet in the government. So you cannot say we have to be accountable, but we can be responsible in raising issues. So far we have been doing that.
Okay, so practically what you want to do is get into the very system that you have been fighting for and use the tools of that system to fight back? Or do you want to go into the system and make it better?
Make it better.
Make it better.
Yes.
I think there's the psychologist, the Canadian psychologist, Jordan Peterson. He once said that most of us think that if you were in the place of Hitler or one of these presidents and prime ministers of the world, you think that you can change the world and do better than them, because you think that you have the moral conviction to actually do good for the society instead of doing stuff like what Hitler did, or what the great leaders of the world who failed their people. So even if we were given the power, we wouldn't be able to do that, because you know why? Power corrupts. How does that make you different, Joe? Or how does that make RPP any different from any other political party?
But how does it explain the fact that Churchill, he had to, Churchill and the leaders of the free world, they had to rise against Hitler? It was a moral conviction. It was a moral conviction. And I believe the leaders of the RPP and the RPP itself, we have a strong ideological base and we have the moral conviction to say that we can bring change. And because if we look in Nagaland today, I'm sorry to say that there's no ideology, there's no moral force. This is the reason why society, or our politics has given rise to money politics and tribal politics. And unless we bring the moral force and the ideology back into Naga politics, I'm sorry that we are not going anywhere. The system will continue to be corrupted, and absolute power will corrupt absolutely, as you put it.
Okay, so I'm just confused here a little bit, Joe. We were talking about the ACAUT, and then it had a set of objectives that it felt that must be pursued, and it must be achieved, and that was in terms of, let's say, business accountability, governance accountability. So now, as you have said, we have been you say that we can enter the system, change and make it better. So now you have got a political party. So if the ACAUT, let's say, failed, like what tools do you have that is different, that you can do it different from people like ACAUT or even community organizations or even opposition parties? Like, what are the tools that you think are different that you're holding?
See, let me clarify in this manner. ACAUT did not fail. So I think that is clear, because the only thing which happened, which changed, was that I left the movement and there's now a new set of leadership. It's not that ACAUT failed.
Okay.
It's just that I left the movement. And ACAUT is not about me. Since it's a movement, it encompasses all sections of society, and then, as I've put it, there's a new set of leaders. Now, what we are trying to say is, during our time in ACAUT, the ACAUT could bring so many changes. For example, we agitated for Lok Ayukta.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
I remember.
that is how the Lok Ayukta came into being. It's an anti-corruption ombudsman. So along with the PSAN, we agitated and we talked to, we negotiated with T.R. Ziliang, the then chief minister. And so that's how the Lok Ayukta came into being. Secondly, when you talk about the issue of NPSC, in NPSC at that point of time, the marking was, the individual marks was around 75 marks.
Excuse me, you're talking about the public service?
Yeah, Nagaland Public Service Commission.
Yes. Continue, please continue.
So the interview marks was around 75. So we felt that that was too much, because if you have too much, if you are given too many, if the marks in the interview system is too much, what happened is there's a manipulation in the system. Negotiated with the chief minister, the then chief minister, and we brought it down to 50. So those are some of the achievements of the ACAUT movement. But I believe the greatest achievement of the ACAUT movement is the fact that we gave hope to the Naga people.
I'll definitely give you that. I think that's one of the central points of the support that you receive from the community organizations. And I hope it continues in one way or the other, because I think the public, they would need some kind of a representative voice in that. So besides that, like, what you think, what do you think are the other achievements of the ACAUT?
Okay, the other achievement of the ACAUT.
Go on.
If I remember correctly, in the year 2016 or 2017. Yeah, I think it was 2017. We exposed the food scam, PTS.
Civil supplies?
Civil supplies.
I remember that.
Yes.
I remember that.
And 3 of us, we had to go to jail because of that.
I remember that.
And I would say that I will put it in this way. After we went to jail and after we came out from the jail, what happened was rice as a PTS item, you know, it started reaching all the corners of Nagaland.
Continue.
And so much so that these days, villagers, they don't go to the fields. So that is the negative side of that.
But if the government could, okay, this is besides the point that we've been talking, but I'm just curious, if the rice reaches all the villages now, then how, and then there are people actually in the towns who are actually protesting, especially the fair price shops, right? If they're protesting that they're not getting, then how can that be an achievement? And we don't know if it actually reaches the people in the villages. If they do, it's good.
No, some anomalies may be there. But I mean, it's a fact that rice reaches the villagers, and it reaches the villagers in abundance.
Can we confirm it? Can we confirm it?
You can always confirm it. Yes.
I'll just get back to the time you got to jail. How many days were you in jail?
3 days and 4 nights.
3 days and 4 nights.
Yeah.
3 of you, right?
3 of us.
The second.
Simon Kellio.
Simon was there.
Yeah. Hukie. Yeah, I think Yeptomi. Yeah.
Okay,
so 3 of us.
Okay, so that was part of the whole threat system that was put up against the ACAUT during this time. Did you feel threatened?
We were threatened all the time. I mean, from 2013 to 2017 or 2018, we were threatened all the time. In fact, the Home Ministry gave a direction to the state government to provide us with bodyguards on 3 occasions. So we said no. We haven't done anything wrong. We are not against anybody. We are against some wrongdoing, and for that we can't be afraid. We have to stand for the truth. And that's why we rejected all forms of bodyguards and offers from the Home Ministry.
Oh wow, that's the first time I'm actually hearing about it, and I've been following the ACAUT for a long time. Okay, let's get back to the Home Ministry and the bodyguards issue here again. What did the Home Ministry say? Because they would have some kind of a foundation to actually say, hey, bring up the police and give bodyguards to these people. There should be a premise, right?
Because of threat perception.
Threat perception.
Yeah,
Tell me more about it.
And by the way, when we talk about threat perception, one of my colleagues was kidnapped. The president of East Dimapur Business Association, during that time, he was kidnapped on flimsy grounds, of course, and then he was kept in the camp for around 2-3 days, and later on I got to know that he was almost shot. I really don't know. I can confirm, but I heard in that manner. So this is not to malign or defame anybody, but it was something which was very. It was a bad experience for him and his family at that point of time. And just to put it in context, yes, all of us were under threat at that point of time because pressure was many from all quarters, because the Naga political groups, they thought that we are there to undermine the movement, which was not the case. We were only talking about illegal taxations and collections.
And not just them, but community organizations, students, government.
Yes.
So I think they took this very personally, right, Joe?
More or less, they took it very personally.
How far does your belief, your ideology, your sense of right or wrong contribute to the direction a government, an organization takes? How far?
Belief is everything. Whether it's ACAUT, whether it's politics, whether it's the church, belief is everything.
Go on.
Yeah, because I'll give you an example. When the previous, what I've stated before, when my colleague was kidnapped by one of the groups, what happened was, we wanted to go and have a dharna.
Okay.
We wanted to have a sit-in dharna in front of the camp. So we decided, yes, we'll go and sleep there for days and days, and we will stage a dharna, and then unless they release our colleague, we will not leave the place. That's what we thought. But surprisingly, none of us went there with bettings. We just went, just like this.
Go on.
But one of the senior members, he sadly is no more. He died 3 years back. Uncle Yeheto Waijimo. He came with his betting and everything, then betting, ready to sleep in front of the camp. So I call that belief. So he believed in in an ideology. He believed in something, and so he came ready, met with everything, set and ready with everything. So that surprised many of us. So when we say like ideology or belief is everything, I believe is 100%. I believe in that, because when we started ACAUT movement, there were many leaders who left the movement. After we formed the movement, there were many leaders who left the movement or who refused to lead the movement because of the threats to the families, because of the pressure, because of my khandan, this khandan, his or her linkage with some group or the other. And so many people had to leave the movement or refuse to lead the movement. So then I realized that belief is very important. Your conviction is very, very important for anything in life.
For anything in life.
Yeah.
So that also brings in the question of putting your life on the line. Is it anything bigger than that?
Yes.
Anything bigger than that?
I mean, you have to be ready to put your life on the line, yes. Because as I put it earlier, all of us were under threats. And parents were, especially our parents, our wives, or, even husbands for lady members, most of them were under pressure. And then there were thousands of phone calls and, angry exchanges within families. Why are you putting your lives on the line? What good will come out of this? Joel Naga, are you the only person in Nagaland that you should put your life on the line? Or is it ACAUT the only movement that you guys should put your lives on the line? Let other people do it. So those were the words spoken against us. So opposition comes not from the others but from within family.
Within family.
In many ways.
Of course, yeah, because I think they fear for you and they care enough that you shouldn't get yourself into trouble because of this. And of course, they're going through a lot of fear also. So I think that is understandable. I'll ask you a question. I think one of your family members might have asked you, why did you do this, Joe? Besides the idea of right or wrong or doing something good for the society, besides that, why? I happened
to be at the right place at the right time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So ACAUT was an idea whose time had come. And whether it's about me or whether it's about you, whatever you have to do, I think in whatever you do, you have to give you 100%. That's what I believe.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't, I wasn't guided by, higher ideals and, things like that. But I was just simply doing my job. Because being a member of Naga Council Dimapur and then representing my tribe in Naga Council Dimapur, and then Naga Council Dimapur being a prestigious body and the apex body of Nagas in Dimapur, and giving leadership to Nagas as a whole, we felt that whatever we have to do, we have to give our best, and we have to give leadership.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, so giving leadership is very important, whether it's in politics or whether it's in CSOs.
Just 2 or 3 days ago, Joe, actually, there was a press release here from one of the village councils. They sent us a press release, and I wrote that script where they spoke about the one government, one tax.
Yeah.
October 13, do you consider that one of your biggest achievements? And now, like you said, you put your life on the line, your colleagues in the ACAUT, they put their lives on the line. Do you think, and we still hear about the one government, one tax declaration, do you think it's an achievement?
October 31st.
Yes.
2013.
The declaration.
Yeah, it's very important.
Tell me about it. How did it come
But it wasn't the first declaration, by the way.
Okay.
It was never the first declaration.
Go on.
Yeah. the cognacs, I think some few years back, I mean, before 2013, the Cognac Union had declared solution first, unity first, second solution.
I see.
The Cognac Union,
I see.
before ACAUT, they had already declared unity first, then solution. And then later on in the year 2012, I think it was in, it was in a public function where some of the Naga leaders declared one government, one tax.
Okay.
So we were not the first.
Okay.
But the difference between those declarations and our declaration was that we did it in a public rally where thousands and thousands attended.
I was there.
So it was more or less like a public mandate. It wasn't an individual expression. It was like a public mandate. I believe more than 30,000 people attended the rally.
Yeah, I was there. It was the biggest I've ever seen in my life.
So you're still in awe of that.
Do you think that declaration, the results of it are being experienced today in reality, in the businesses, in the government administration?
Exactly. Because that declaration was so empowering.
Yeah, I give you that.
So no wonder even 10 years down the line, the business committee of Chumagitima, they are still standing by the declaration.
Yeah, they say that just recently also, unless you're one government now, we won't be paying you tax.
Yes.
What about the government machineries, Joe?
Government machineries as in taxations and collections?
Not just taxation, accountability.
Accountability.
I'm appointing you, so if I appoint you, it should be in the right channel. Do you think it's being experienced, the declaration is being experienced?
I think so, because, okay, before coming to your point, what happened was, those days, even the government employees, they had to give part of the salary to the Naga political groups, 5% of the salary.
Yes, I remember.
In a year. So after this declaration, even the government servants were empowered not to give. So we have felt that experience. And secondly, in government departments, what happens is most of the bureaucrats and politicians, and the Naga political groups, they're hand in glove. I won't say most, but many of them are hand in glove.
Not most.
Not most. So many of them are hand in glove. So what happens is the developmental money, which is due for, due for development in the sense, infrastructural development and, due for roads and, water supply, things like that, especially to do with developmental departments. 5% of the developmental funds were being siphoned off and given to Naga political groups. I think that's stopped.
I see.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. So these are some of the achievements, not my achievements or nor our achievements, but the people, they woke up. And as I put it, that slogan is so empowering that the people would, catch hold of it and then empower themselves.
Oh, okay. I think it gives us a perspective about how people's voice can actually influence government policies. Of course, like government policies, legislation, we haven't seen many of legislation in regard to, let's say, taxation in Nagaland. I think there was one in 2015, but at least from the community side, and to the credit of the Naga political groups, at least they are not really putting your lash on this also. So there seems to be some kind of a peace. I'm not saying everything is okay, but there seems to be some kind of a peace here. So thank God for that. Talking about putting your life on the line and achieving some of the achievements that ACAUT, achieved. But then again, let's get back to the whole political narrative here. You left and you formed a political organization of your own. And I believe that some of the beliefs and the direction that you took in ACAUT resonates with the political beliefs that you have in the RPP.
Yeah.
Is it a reincarnation of the ACAUT?
I will not put it in that manner because let me put it in this manner. ACAUT is ACAUT. And it will always be outside the system. So ACAUT was against corruption. Yes, even the RPP is against corruption, and we are for good governance. ACAUT was for good governance. So in that sense, you know, like, you know, you can, you know, connect the dots. But what I believe is that ACAUT cannot be too political. You know? Okay. And RPP is a political party. And we have our own vision, we have our own principles and ideologies. But definitely, if we get into the government, what we'll be doing is we'll be implementing the, you know, the principles and ideologies of ACAUT in governance. So I think there's a difference between us. As I've put it earlier, you have to be part of the system. Until we enter the system, then there's no hope for change. And we are not saying that, you know, this party is a hope of Nagaland. I'm not claiming that. But at least we can try and give leadership to the Naga people. And for the sake of the younger generation, it's incumbent upon us to do this.
I like you better now that you say that we are not the hope of Nagaland, because you know what? You know that you know what that sounds like? If you say something like, you know, I'm going to say like, oh, this is just another political party, so I'll give you credit for that. Yeah. So anyhow, like, just before we wind up, I'm just curious. I talked to a leader of the ACAUT just recently, and I asked him, we don't hear from you anymore, you know. I mean, of course, a press release here and there, some of this and that, but we don't see you on the streets anymore. We don't see you shouting anymore. Are you going to disband? And he said, oh, no, we're just busy, you know, we're not disbanding. ACAUT is still intact, and we're still working. Do you think all this happened because you, and of course there was one certain KK Sema during the time?
Yes.
Was it because they left? You left? Or you got bored and decided to say, I'm going to be a politician?
Why do you want to give me so much credit?
No, I just want to take it from you.
Okay, maybe yes. Yes, I can concede the point, yes. See, we have been part of the, right from its inception, we were in ACAUT, and then we worked as a team. We worked as a team through thick and thin. And having worked as a team or as a family, after so many years, when somebody leaves the movement, let it be personal or let it be otherwise, when somebody leaves the movement, obviously it's going to have an effect. Just like what happened to, you know, like Anna Hazare's movement. So it's not about me as a person, but it's about your core member or your core team. If your core team leaves a movement, then basically you get, what happened was you get demotivated, and then you feel betrayed. And many Nagas feel that, you know, I've betrayed them, or I've betrayed the movement. And even the core team members in the ACAUT presently, they feel that I betrayed them. So, but the issue is more complex than what you have raised. You know, there were many issues and there were many dynamics within the movement, due to which I had to leave the movement. I had to leave ACAUT. So these are some of the issues which I will not discuss with you today, but I will write a memoir, and then probably I'll explain there.
Yeah, I think it'll be good, because there might be some stories that we would like to highlight, you know. Okay, you mentioned the word betrayal, Joe. So how does it work that someone who works with an organization or who has been closely associated with a movement that has the support of the public, Anna Hazare, Kejriwal became the chief minister. So how do you call that betrayal? Now you've got your own options. Why do you think that people thought you betrayed them?
Because people believed in ACAUT so much that ACAUT became something like a Superman. And people felt, because we Nagas are very emotional, and I think most of the people felt that ACAUT could have achieved anything, including bringing the Naga political groups together, or bringing the Naga political groups to its knees. I think that's what the Naga people envisioned, or or they romanticized about, or fantasized about. So I really don't know how it could have ended if me and KK were there. He's my mentor, KK Sema. I really don't know how things would have happened, but obviously I feel that people felt betrayed. Yeah.
So now, especially, I mean, like, no disrespect to our government leaders and politicians also, and when you talk of betrayal, especially the people saying that you betrayed them, I think there is an element of not just betrayal, but the sense that you were not satisfied with what you were doing, so you wanted to go into a movement, something that will give you more benefits. That is in the sense of starting the RPP.
Yeah.
So was it something like that?
It was something like that, yes. Because not for my benefit,
okay, but, I wouldn't give you all that.
But for the benefit of our Naga people. Yeah, that's what, because even when I was in the movement, there were lots of discussions. Like this ACAUT should become a political party. There were lots of feedbacks and there were lots of discussions. So there were so many suggestions that we should enter the political fray in 2018
and change the system.
Yeah, and change the system. Yes, but we felt that no, ACAUT cannot be a political party, and to form a political party has to be a different initiative. And so we refrained from like converting ACAUT into a political party.
Okay.
And so at the right time, we formed the RPP, I guess. That was in 2019, sorry, 2020. So anyway, so as I've put it, the reason why I left was not only because of what you have raised. It was it's something very complex.
Very complicated.
Yeah. Something to do with our human nature. Which is, like, how do I put it? We tend to be tribalistic in outlook. We tend to form factions, or we tend to engage in groupism. There's so many factors. Yeah.
Right. Just one more question now.
Yeah.
I think we had a very good conversation, Joe. Do you have any regrets?
Do
you have any regrets?
In life?
Anything with ACAUT, with now going forward, do you carry any regrets with you that you would like to rectify in the future maybe? Do you have any regrets, Joe?
No, I have no regrets. My only regret is very simple. That I would not go for higher studies. I'm just a simple graduate and I regret that. That's it.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Joel Naga, who was a former leader of the ACAUT and now the president of the Rising People's Party. It was an introspection, a retrospection too. And it's not only about the ACAUT and where it's moving forward, it was more to do with tracing back the story of the ACAUT and where it might give us an image of where they might be going now. Thank you for tuning in to The Big Word with Ngullie. We'll see you next time.